Hi everyone, my name is Eric Sauter, and I'm here on behalf of Sunn Amplification. Today, I'm going to have a conversation with Bryan Giles. Bryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing so well. For those of you who don't know, Bryan is the guitar player in Red Fang and is a well-published lover of the Sunn Beta Series. So we're going to talk about music, gear, and a bunch of other things. So Bryan, so I guess one place to start, give me like a rundown on like your origin story as a musician. Like where did things start for you?
Well, my mother was into piano and church and stuff. So from an early age, I had to take piano lessons, and then beyond that, I started playing trumpet. I played in trumpet in the high school, in like my elementary school. I think sixth grade. I started playing trumpet in the school band, and I played through my freshman year, I think. Oh God. Well, anyway, so I had musical upbringing anyway. So I guess, and listened to music a lot in the house. A lot of Carly Simon and James Taylor. And then I started playing. I was like, oh, this is. A friend of mine got a guitar, and I started playing guitar, and just listening to get kind of hearing punk rock for the first time when I was younger. I was like, oh, you know what? You can do anything. There's no rules. You can play whatever note after whatever note, however fast, however hard or soft or whatever. And it just really intrigued me. And still to this day, I'm intrigued. So yeah, I started writing songs and had disastrous attempts at starting a band. And yeah, so I've been in a band pretty much continuously from the time I was 16. I guess the first band that I was in that played a show live, I was probably 18. So from 18, I'm 54 now. So whatever that math is, 28, 38, 48, 36 years. So, yeah, still doing it, shockingly.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's obviously in your blood. That's funny. I've also played trumpet too through high school, and yeah. What made you want to pick up guitar? Was it like hearing like different styles of music and being like, this is the thing?
I don't even think I really. I'd only kind of heard like rock and roll for the first time, maybe, I don't know, the summer before I got a guitar. But I think my brother had ZZ Top, Eliminator, and Van Halen, Fair Warning, and I think that was my first exposure to like hard rock, and I was kind of blown away. I was like, this is so cool. And then a friend of mine, Preston Pingree, he got a guitar, and I thought, well, that's cooler than trumpet. I don't, whatever. I mean, trumpet is very cool. Like, but if you're taking trumpet through the public school system, they're not going to be putting any Miles Davis in front of you. It's all like, madrigal Christmas bullshit.
Oh, I remember being in jazz band and stuff, and yeah, it's not really enticing to someone who wants to explore music.
Yeah, I don't think they're just trying to get you to where you can play the notes on time and in tune. So I guess I don't think I gave trumpet a real fair shake, but I thought that the guitar just, had a cooler veneer to it. I mean, people, no chicks went for the trumpet guy,
Oh,
so
definitely not. Definitely not. And then you see like, yeah, you get introduced to like this high powered rock music, and you see that and you're just like, I definitely had a similar experience where it's like, that's what I want to do. That's
yeah, it's way more. It felt way more visceral, at the time, But like I say, I mean, that was just my lack of exposure to kind of what really a trumpet's capable of. I mean, it makes me sort of sad that I quit on it because I wasn't too shabby at it either. I was, my best friend and we would trade first and second chair, and so it was competitive and.
Oh, so you were in like the upper echelon of that stuff. You were doing like
yeah, I mean,
or you were doing like jazz or something like that.
For elementary and junior high, yeah, I was crushing it.
Well, it seems like it was on the cards for you to like do performance and stuff, because that's like the band is very like performance oriented. You know, you're rehearsing for a performance. So at the end of the day,
Yeah, I mean, I think I got a lot out of it that way. It's just well, we have this whatever a Christmas concert we have to get ready for, and so you don't fuck around, you practice because you're gonna otherwise you'll be embarrassed. So I guess I learned at least that.
You'd be surprised how many people never learn who never learn that lesson.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, getting into like playing in like bands and other things outside of there. What was your first experience with that, and how did that lead you to doing what you do now with Red Fang?
Well, I tried, like I said, it's had some bad attempts at starting bands. I just basically got my friends. I was like, hey, we should be in a band. And everyone was sort of like, okay, but they really didn't seem to have their heart in it. So the first couple of things I did were like, I would play a song, or we would like, I remember we played a DRI cover where I played the DRI song and then everybody else just kind of smashed their shit. So it was more Dada than it was, a song, whatever. So the first band that I was in that seemed, functional anyway was a band called House. And we did, and it was, it was oddball sort of art rock or whatever. And our first show ever, we made tons of flyers. We made like 10 different flyers. We did media blitz and we said we were from Braunschweiger, Germany, which is, as far as I know, a food and not a place. But anyway, we got a crowd. Yeah, we got a crowd, and I guess I was hooked then. I mean, I remember we had sort of shitty costuming. I was wearing a motorcycle helmet with a pelican skull that I stole from science class, taped to the top. I mean, it was art. But yeah, I just got addicted to it. It was like the nerves you get, and the butterflies and everything. It was just really exciting. And I still get nervous. And that's means you still enjoy it. If you don't get
high
nervous,
of it, it's just yeah. When you get
means
on stage,
that you don't care anymore. You should be nervous a little bit. Otherwise, that just means that it's old hat, and you should try something else.
I'm getting into Red Fang. When did that whole band come around, and how did you meet everyone involved in that band? Because I've noticed that it's pretty much consistent members through the whole life of the band. Correct?
Yeah, it's the original four. It's we are pretty clear with each other that it's like if it's all or none of us, and we're not gonna have fill seats. I mean, I guess never say never, but I think that the beauty of the band is the four members, and I don't think that it wouldn't serve the music to get someone else. So anyway, and we're tight. So
yeah, you obviously have a great relationship if you manage to, everyone's still involved to that sort of degree.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as though it's without turbulence, but
oh, yeah.
I mean, that's any kind of family that you jam into a tin can and drive around for a month and a half. I mean, it's people get on each other's nerves, but we've done good. I mean, I think that the band started when I was in my mid 30s. We were all we'd gotten a lot of our kind of shitty teenage and 20 something attitudes out of the way. So I think that probably helped in our longevity, was just that we, I mean, I had already been in a touring band for like 7 or 8 years, but we met because John, the drummer, and the guitar player were in a band called the Mercury Birds from North Carolina. And I was in a band called Last of the Juanitas, and we traded shows, East Coast, West Coast, because, I mean, to say that either bands had like a cult following, that, that's a stretch. I mean, we had local crowds and we could play regionally, so we just traded crowds. And I told John, I said, if you ever move to Portland, you're going to have to be in a band with me. And well, we ended up starting a band. So he and I started a band called Party Time. And then David was in a band called Face Down and Shit, and he toured to Portland. And then when the band got to Portland, he just got out of the van and stayed in Portland. So he started playing with Party Time. And so we did that band for about 3 years. And then that fizzled out. So I moved to San Diego. and tried to play music with people down there. Nothing really worked out. But in the meantime, Aaron, David, and John got together and started writing songs under the moniker Special Princess. Anyway, so they started sending me demos, and they were really metal and like drop tuning metal. And I was like, that is cool. So anyway, they're like, if ever you want to move up here, you could play with us. And I was like, all right, fuck it. So I did. I moved back to Portland and we started playing. We ended up not really playing any of those songs because they were, though the riffs were great, there was like something stopping us from making them into complete songs. So I'd been writing songs, for the year I was in San Diego. And so I had I had a couple ideas already rolling around. And so that's where the Red Fang started, and initially I was the singer for the band, full time, except that we did a couple of West Coast tours where my voice would just disappear because I was screaming my fucking head off. And,
there's kind of no way around that.
Yeah. So Aaron was like, well, I guess until your voice gets better, I can sing the ones that are higher register that you just absolutely can't do. And I was like, great, you do this song, and this song. And then he turned out to be pretty good at singing. So it actually worked out great. And I think that's part of the one of the positive things and the accessibility of Red Fang is that when you get sick of one singer, you got the other guy. We don't do good cop, bad cop, so much. It's just two different, two different textures. So I think it helps the listener, when they not get Red Fang fatigue, it gives it different aspects. So.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the vocal is like the most important part of music, especially in rock. So when you're able to go between two different stances, it makes for a much more interesting experience for a listener.
Yeah. I mean, whether you care about vocals or not, or I personally don't, I don't follow lyrics, or I just don't really care. As long as they're not, it's not like Screwdriver or something like that. I really don't care. You can say whatever, it's really about the melody. But it's true, human beings, since we're babies, we've always tuned into the sound of a human voice because that's like a survival thing. So, so whether you like it or not, you have to I think you have to think about it like that. That's the primary melody that people are hearing, and everything else is, is to some degree support for that melody. So I got used to singing. I was in an instrumental metal band forever, and I thought, who needs singing? But people who buy records do to some degree.
Yeah, exactly.
That is like a blanket statement. Obviously, there's some super amazing instrumental bands that have no need for vocalists at all. But
but they can't sing the words back at you if there's no words. It's
yeah, there's no sing along. Unless people are like scatting the solo or something.
Well, that's great. So, and at that point, when you're doing these first like tours and everything, is that around like the time you did the debut album?
Well, we started touring in 2005. I think our first show was like New Year's Eve 2005, and then we did a West Coast tour that year. And maybe went up and played Seattle and Olympia and Bellingham, maybe something like that along those. And for those tours, we went to a company called Bullseye Discs in Portland, and we had burned CDs. They printed a graphic and the liner notes on the CD, and we made these tour CDs. So I think we had 3 of them, and that was what we were doing to distribute our music. Were these like little cardboard sleeve $5 demos,
super DIY. And you can do a lot like just on the location. I'm pretty familiar with Washington. Half my family lives out there, but you can just like go down a highway and you can hit so many different cities. So you can do a lot of West Coast stuff pretty easily.
Yeah, the normal circuit for people up our way, if you're doing regional stuff, is Bellingham, Seattle, Olympia, and Seattle. You can play Ballard there. You can. There's Tacoma. You can play. You can make a little like a 5-6 day tour out of it if you want to, and not and not go so far away that you
Yeah,
lose your
all the
job.
way up there. Yeah, Bellingham. It's like a college town up there. That debut album was like such a huge. That was on heavy rotation in my house. I lived with a handful of guys, and I remember that like we would always throw that the video for Prehistoric Dog on. Like that was a really cool record. Did that open up a lot of opportunities for the band after that came out?
Yeah, well, the first record was basically I think the side B was a tour CD, and side A was a session we did with our longtime front of house engineer Adam Pike. And that initially came out on Wantage out of Missoula, and then in 2000, that probably came out in 2008, 2007, something like that. But then Whitey McConaughey made the Prehistoric Dog video, and his manager at the time was Kathy Pallow, who runs Sargent House. Anyway, so he showed her that video, and she wanted to be in charge of selling that record. So she bought the rights to that record from Wantage, and then it became a Sargent House release. And so really, I mean, it was the Prehistoric Dog video, that got us the attention. At that time we had a MySpace page, and I think that Prehistoric Dog, that recording, had been up for a year and a half, and it had like maybe 10,000 listens. And then that video came out, and it had, hundreds of thousands of listens within a week. So it was huge as far as getting our name out there. I mean, I'm a big believer in grassroots, but man, you'll grow old and die if you got to do it one human at a time. So it's not, I mean, it's, I applaud people who are still out there grinding, but I definitely think it's not necessarily a music video, but you do need to, to stand out from the crowd. You do need something. And so luckily, Whitey made that video for us, and he just did such a great job. I mean, the comments in that video, several of them anyway, were like, "Hey, this video is incredible. Song's not bad either." I'm like, "Hey, whatever. I'll piggyback off of this video. Or piggyback. I that's fine. I'm not so proud." So
the composition,
yeah,
a good script, a good and just a video that's like that can just bring you so many places. It really is amazing.
And it was really nice too that it had a sense of humor, and I think that was. I don't think we were really thinking about it at the time, but we never wanted to be like four dudes that go to the gym walking out of the fog with spikes on their arms. That's just no one's gonna believe that shit. There's no
it's
fucking.
Fun. I mean, y'all are throwing empties in the back of the car and just like going to fight a bunch of LARPers. Like it's amazing.
Yeah,
I remember seeing these guys rock. This is great.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, I can't take much credit for that video other than I was in there and I could drink beer on cue. But so I guess that's a real advantage, and I'm really happy looking back on it, because we did 5 videos with Whitey, 6, and and the sense of humor is always in the forefront, because I mean, we do take our music very seriously, and the songs are dark. The material is definitely not cheerful whistle while you work stuff, but we're not severe people. We don't sit in a dark room, burning incense, worshiping Satan. We're just dudes who like playing music, so to be represented that way. And now, I feel like, I walk through a crowd at a show or something, people don't want to arm wrestle me. They might want me to shotgun a beer in the parking lot, but it's like always people genuinely it brings people happiness, and they're in a good mood, what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's a nice, whatever, image to have in the public eye. It's like, oh, they're unpretentious, easygoing people. It's like, that is great, because I don't have to. It doesn't take much work to maintain that. I just kind of don't be a dick. That's basically all I got to do.
That's the best way to be. It makes you, I mean, it makes you feel like very approachable. It's just like these people are not super cool guys. They're just like us. And
Yeah, there's no, the separation between crowd and band is minimal. I mean, nobody looks up at at us playing music. It's like, oh, these golden gods. No one's saying that. They're just like, these dudes practice their shit, and I like the shit they play. You know what I mean? That's what I hope anyway. People take.
it sounds like you wouldn't want it to be the opposite of that, anyways. It's just not.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
So at this point, you guys are touring a lot. What did the gear look like for you at this time? Like, what had you been playing out of? And even before then, like, what was your like your rig setup?
Well, once I had various guitars and amps over the years. I played a Trainer 100 watt amp, 412 combo, and I think it sounded great. And I'm sad that I sold it, but I actually sold it to the bass player at Face Down and shit, and I want it back. But I ran into his bandmate. I was like, "You think he'll want to sell that back to me?" And he said, "Oh no." I said, "Damn it!"
That's what happens when you get rid of gear. Sometimes you got to be ready for it to never come back. And if you are able to get it back, you best consider yourself lucky. So
yeah, I had this Trainer, and I played that. I played guitar through that and bass in a band when I was 18 or 19. And the cool thing about it had a practice speaker built into the side, but it sounded awesome. It was like it sounded like it was on fire. It was so great. So that was a nice bonus to that amp.
So it had the 412 combo, and then there was a speaker on the side as well.
No, it was a head and 412 separate. Okay. But then the head on one side was a handle, and the other side was like a 2-inch speaker.
Oh, interesting.
And it was dirty. It was great. So anyway, so I played through that for a while, and I sold that, and then started in Blast the Juanitas was like a instrumental metal, like math rock was the thing back then, and so inscrutable weird ass shit is what it was. But I played a Fender Bassman 50, which had been like souped up. It was louder generally than other Fenders, and I would basically go in the one of the A channel and then out the B of the one into the A of the 2 channel. So basically, I had the overdrive from both channels going, and then I used a rat pedal. So that was it. And I don't even think you used a tuner. Jesus Christ! I think we was just tuned to whatever the bass was close to.
You just hit an E and okay, here we go.
I'm like, how long did I go without a tuner? My God, I mean, a lot longer than you'd think.
I mean, it wasn't like there was a million options for that stuff, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, especially since we didn't have singing, it really didn't matter so much. But then occasionally, I remember we played a show in Rapid City in the dead of winter, and so we would drive in our van, and it was freezing cold, and so our instruments sagged a lot, the strings. So I don't know, and then I saw like some kind of VHS recording of us playing this basement and I was like, what is happening? And I swear to you, we were like, I don't know, maybe A sharp or something. It was crazy. I was like, well, anyway, I needed a tuner clearly, but anyway, so I played that with my old drummer Johnny, and then that band broke up, and we started with Party Time. And I remember the first time I played with John from Red Fang, I plugged in my gear as usual, the regular setup, Bassman 50 and the Rat, and I turned it up to where I usually would, and I was like, I can't hear myself. And I turned it all the way up. I mean, I pegged it out, and I couldn't hear myself playing. I was like, well, this is not going to work. So I think I used it. I don't know. I tried a few things. I killed a couple of amps, borrowing amps, like trying to find 100 watts that I liked, and I never really settled on anything. And then, and so even throughout that 3 years, I might have actually had the Trainer at that point. That's probably what I used to some degree Party Time. And then I probably got rid of it. But anyway, Red Fang started, and it was still like, we need a loud thing. And I think that Aaron was collecting Sunn amps at the time. So I think he had 4 or 5 even then. So he just loaned amps to David and I. So all the three of us played through those, and it was basically a volume issue. It was just, we need to get over John. And I think one of the fringe benefits of it was that since, everybody, like David was playing a semi hollow body guitar at the time. And then of course, Aaron's playing bass through a 412, but still. So there was a continuity between the tone of the three instruments. And I think that it really helped blend the sounds a lot. It gave it a sort of a unifying feature. I think that it just sounded smooth. It was like gritty, but it was smooth.
Yeah, you don't have like a handful of different, insanely different voiced amplifiers like competing in the mix with each other. They're kind of like, obviously you can set things a little bit differently, but generally you have the tone is somewhat similar between all of them. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, there were enough differences where you could, we still to this day, David plays stage right, so in recordings he's panned left. We try to make the record sound somewhat like you're in an audience standing in the center of the crowd. Cool. So you have me on your right and David on your left and drums up the middle. But yeah, I think, so you could differentiate. It wasn't as though it was like super homogenous, but but I think that really lent to sort of there was something real satisfying about it. It's like wearing a cashmere sweater.
Well, that makes sense that there was a Sunn collector in the band, because I had always noticed that everyone was playing one of those. And I was like, how did it happen that every single one of you had the same amp? So that totally makes sense.
Probably within the first month or two of us playing together, we ended up doing that, and then it was. I got addicted to it right away. I mean, the betas, I didn't run any effects. I just had a tuner. That was all I was using, and still to this day.
Yeah, you can throw your rat out. It's just like it's all there.
Exactly. The gain is plenty, and I run both channels with the gain probably at like 8.5 or 9 on both channels. So it's plenty of dirt, feeds back like crazy. It sounds like it's going to die, and that's where I like it to be. I don't want it to die, but I want people nervous. So, but yeah, that's, and I guess at some point people noticed that, and now there's some amount of expectation that we play through them, but, we're not religious about it. I mean, I've certainly played shows, especially if we do fly in and there's a back line and it's like, well, here we go. Playing a JCM 800, but a lot of times I just will need to get like a distortion pedal to get that extra scariness,
because there is a kind of like a low end, I mean, Marshall distortion is great, but like it's not the same. It's a completely different sort of thing. So yeah,
I remember we had like some catastrophic situation where we broke down in LA, and we were on tour with Valiant Thor, and we had a show in Vegas, and our van died in LA. Luckily, we had friends down there that loaned us a van, and we got ourselves to Las Vegas, and we borrowed Valiant Thor's backline, and I was using a JCM 900, and man, that is not for me. It's like so clean,
especially if you're not used to it. Yeah, exactly. That's a very
it's pristine. It's disgusting. Hate it.
There's so much top end to it, and
yeah. I mean, if you're like Mark Knopfler or somebody, I get it, but that ain't me, So, as long as it's an amp can be saturated, that's the important thing to me, is that it's if you look at the waveform, it should look like a big rectangular block.
Distortion.
Yeah.
Now, did that setup end up mirroring itself in the studio? Is these amps that you use live, did you also record with them?
Yeah. In general, we've tried other things too. I mean, we've used, I think the Murder the Mountains we used, I want to say they're like Carl amps. Is that a thing?
Carl.
No, I was making it. I don't know. No, some boutique amp.
That is, yeah. That definitely is an amp brand.
Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, that does.
Well, anyway, Chris Funk had some kind of relationship with them, and so I think we just had like, the guitars were going through a guitar store full of amps that were all going at once in like an isolation room. There must have been, we probably had 5 amps going per guitar, and we used the Sunn. I think that was the amp that we used to kind of monitor what we were doing, because that was we're familiar with. But yeah, we use a bunch of different amps. I know we use like an 8, whatever, one of those. We use a ton of different amps, and the thing is, recording something, it's a totally different animal. So I'm definitely not religious about recording with them either, although I generally do. It's a good starting point for me, because I know what to expect. And then if it needs something else, maybe I'll add or reamp. I've been working on a solo project, and I've been doing a lot of reamping just to see, the things that pop out in in real time, in real life, don't always pop out on tape. So I'm still messing with it. I'm no professional, but I do, trial and error still to this day.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many options, and like you said, the studio is way different. There's like, there's thousands of ways to get a result in there. So,
yeah, I mean, you can get the most ferocious guitar sound from a cigarette amp, one of those little cigarette pack 1-inch speakers. It sounds crazy, right? And that can be just what you need. A 1-inch 1-watt amp might be the thing that makes your record. Whereas 16 12-inch speakers going at full blast can sound small, depending, on what kind of mic you're using, what mic placement. So yeah, so we're not religious about it, but in general, we do use them. I think on Arrows, which is the last, full length non, compilation thing we did. I think we used an amp emulator at least for our monitors. And I was like, no way is this thing going to work. And I had my Sunn amp and then this amp emulator, and it did this thing where it's like, play like you're going to play. I was like, okay. So I would play, and he's like, all right, we're going to switch between the amp emulator and your amp. I said, great, let me know. I'm going to turn away from it so I can't see you do it. And I'm playing for a while. I'm like, all right, go ahead and do it. And they're like, we've already done it like 10 times. So this amp emulator, it was shockingly, I couldn't tell.
Nothing like a blind test. It'll, especially with like tones, it'll get you. But
people, I used to be kind of one of these analog people, but now I'm like, you know what? There's so many ones and zeros that the human ear can't tell the difference between, I think there's being a purist and being a nutcase, and I'm definitely, I'm a type B personality. I'm like, whatever, man. This sounds cool. It doesn't matter if it's ones and zeros or tape or whatever.
Yeah, it's like at the end of the day, who's going to notice that? Is anyone going to call that out? Like, especially if you can't notice it, the person performing.
Yeah, exactly.
And exactly. In the control room, if you're in there in front of these super detailed speakers and it's not coming out, then no one's ever gonna know what's up with that.
Yeah, I think the technology, audio technology, has surpassed the human ear quite a while ago. At this point, I think the kind of differences that are happening are just most human ears can't detect them. So whatever. And now I'm like, well, good, because 2-inch tape is expensive as shit. So I'll take endless track.
And and then
for a free place to put it,
maintaining a tape machine and all that sort of stuff. It's like for percentiles of difference, if you can even, amount it to that. So you've talked about amps. What are you usually find yourself playing for guitars? Like, what's your guitar setup?
I played a Fender Mustang. It was this little beat up little yellow. Had been, someone owned it before me, and they decided they wanted an SG, so they shaved the body down to be more of an SG shape, but it got small. So
is that super beat up one that I've seen you play a bunch? Or
yeah, it's a little yellow. It's got a red pick guard. Anyway, that was my guitar forever. But we were, and then this company called Huber. Nick Huber it's a boutique guitar manufacturer out of Germany, and anyway, they got in touch with David, and so David had been playing Nick Huber for a while, and we went on tour Europe, and there was like a strike at the airport. There was just some kind of total meltdown. There was like suitcases in every hallway to the ceiling stacked, like there was some kind of union strike. So in any case, my guitar didn't make it. So David had two of the Nick Hubers, and so I borrowed one for that. It was just like a fly-in, like a 4-day weekend or something. So I used that, his other guitar, and I fell in love with it. It just plays so smooth. So anyway, I swore I would be playing that Fender Mustang until I died, but now I'm playing this Nick Huber Crowster 2. So that's the guitar, and then like I say, I just use a tuning pedal. When we're on tour, if flying in someplace, generally I'll take a pitch pedal, basically a what is it called, a pitchfork, which I could shift the whole thing down. For basically, we have some drop C songs, and so if I can, I'll bring a guitar that's already tuned to drop C. But if we're on the road and it's just not logistical to have to travel with two guitars, I'd have used that. But that's about it. As I just turn that on so I don't have to bring two guitars. So that's basically it. It's a Sunn Beta lead, my guitar, and a tuner, and Orange gave us 412s. They've just loaned us 412s, but we've been borrowing them for like 10 years. So I doubt they want them back. I hope they don't want them back because they look like shit now.
You're just like hoping
hoping
that they never call you up. It's like that buddy who leaves an amp or something at your house. You're like, oh man, please don't. Please don't text me and be like, hey, where is that?
The guy that hooked us up with that, I don't think he even works there anymore. I doubt that they're looking to get those back at this point. I hope not. So anyway, but yeah, that's basically. It's easy, it's everything I need. And David uses a lot of effects, and he's got more flair,
Does he hold down like more like the lead aspect of things? Or?
Yeah. I mean, if something like that, the thing I say is that if a part requires a hammer, I'll do it. If a part requires a scalpel, he'll do it. And it works out. Hopefully he's cool with that. But generally, if there's some kind of tricky passage, I'm like, how about I just play the power chords and you do that? And he's usually cool with it. So. But he uses a bunch of effects, and he really makes some cool layered effects. And he is sort of obsessed with effects pedals and stuff. And so I'm still to this day, I'm surprised he'll bring something new in, and it'll bring a new aspect to a song we've been playing for 10 years. I'm like, and it really perks my ears up. And so I'm excited he does that. But, I just like to keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah. And it makes for an easier job for you. You just have to show up with your tuner pedal and your pitch pedal.
Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't make me look lazy.
Less stuff to carry around, especially if you're flying around a bunch. That's not
a non-issue. I can get all of my guitar shit into my guitar case.
That's so great.
It's packed to the gills. I mean, it's bulging, but I can get all of it in there. So basically, I just have to show up with my guitar, head, cab. So I can be out of the van and all my shit up there in like 3 minutes.
In the modern day, when there's so many gear options and so many pedals available to everyone, that is like such a rare thing to see. So.
If you get something you like, I think some people are like, oh, well, you're a professional musician. You need to have all this professional equipment. It's like, well, no, you don't. Just make sure the shit is trustworthy. I mean, as long as it makes noise throughout the tour, you don't have to repair it, then you're all good. I think people should just, be more concerned with the notes they chose than what amp's making them loud.
You're bringing this like intense rock sound out there. It's like it's more about like what you're playing than it is the things that you're using.
Absolutely.
So speaking of that, what's the touring schedule looking like for this year?
We we're going out on tour with the Sword for a 3-week trip. I think it starts in Dallas, and then we go through the Midwest, and then meander our way up the West Coast, and then ends in Denver. So yeah, so 3 weeks with the Sword, which I'm looking forward to. I think it's going to be great. I we're sort of lumped in together genre wise, even though I think that we're completely different bands. But I think that people will like it. I'm optimistic that people will show up. So, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, definitely seems like it fits. And what's the setup looking like for that tour for you? Same sort of thing that we've been talking about here.
Yeah, pretty much, except that it's a flight. The tour starts in Dallas, so we all have to fly in and rent backline and rent, vehicle and trailer. And so I can't recall honestly what the backline looks like, but I'm pretty sure it's the same. I think we just requested orange 8-ohm cabinets. And then I'm going to most likely travel with the Sunn Mini, so that it can fit in my suitcase. That's the plan.
Yeah, I mean it's tiny. I have mine right here. They're just like this thing just fit
Yeah.
anywhere. It's great.
Yeah, it's adorable.
Now, obviously you have the mini, and you've played out of the reissues. What can you tell me about the tone between like the vintage ones and the newer ones? Are they sitting on like the same sort of level tone wise?
Yeah, I would say that they're pretty. When the guys from Sunn first contacted us, this was probably 2 or 3 years ago. They came to our practice space and asked us a bunch of stuff about what we like about the amp, what we don't like about the amp, and they brought a bunch of equipment in there to study the frequencies going in and coming out of the thing, and it was all sort of over my head. I was like, all right,
they had the whole lab there.
I was like, I don't know if you need a computer involved in this, but they did, and I think they really nailed it. Anytime someone says they're going to make a new thing, I'm like, will it stand up to the old thing? But definitely, they got the tone right on the money. My only complaint about that is that they did such an efficient job that it doesn't sound like it's about to start on fire. I'm like, there's not this overwhelming line noise that's always happening, which I just kind of got used to. But I tell you who loves it is my drummer, because he hates. It sounded at some points, depending, it sounded like an airplane engine, and he'd have to get some of his monitors. Like, what is that noise?
Because he's trying to reference everything around him and like make sure that everyone's like where they should be, because that's his job.
I'm like, no, that's what this amp sounds like. It sounds like an airplane. That's how it's supposed to be. But so that's one of the fringe benefits of using the Mini, is that it's pretty whisper quiet. If even with the gain all the way up, it doesn't have a bunch of hiss, which is great.
Nice. I mean, just as a new amp should be, which is kind of nice, considering the fact that like they're reissuing these amps where you to find one of these, you would generally have to find a vintage one and then hope it's been serviced. If it's not been serviced, then you kind of have to take care of that yourself. So I guess you're
not going to go out on the road with you don't just buy an old Sunn off of eBay and then just throw it in the van. You definitely need it looked at, because my understanding is back in the day that ownership and then the manufacturing floor, everyone got into really into heavy drugs, and it sort of showed with like there was some pretty drastic inconsistencies. I mean, like I said, over the band is probably at the peak. We probably had maybe 13 or 14 of those amps.
Oh, wow.
And, some I like better for recording, and some I like better for live shows. Some I like so much that I don't want to take on tour because I don't want to die, but the settings, you couldn't just take a picture of one and then set those knobs to the next one. They would sound different. You could achieve the same sound, but the knob positioning was drastically different. So there's the old ones are pretty wildly inconsistent, but every once in a while you run into one that it's like, oh shit, that's the good one. But you don't want inconsistency when you're making a factory manufactured thing. They should pretty much be the same product, right?
Yeah, exactly. And to touch on that, since you have a collection of so many, if you still do, were there ones that you would prefer to have in the studio or on the road, or?
Absolutely, yeah. But honestly, to some degree, I'm not even sure who owns which ones now. But there's one that's got like a light brown wooden box that I think is amazing. So I kind of know it by these homemade enclosures we made. A lot of the Sunns that we have came out of combos, and so they were, unprotected little metal chassis. So we built boxes for them. I know David made one out of like a school desk that he found on the side of a road. Just make them roadworthy. So, but yeah, there are some that I'm like, this one is serviceable. It's in good condition. It's not the best, but I don't care if something happens to it on the road. So so sometimes most of the time I don't take the one that I like the most on tour, because I think that's a good way to not have that amp anymore.
You don't want to put all the stress of the road on.
Yeah, I don't want to ask that much of it.
So going on from there, I guess to wrap this up, what is on the horizon for you and for Red Fang? Any new material coming up, or writing new stuff?
We took about a year and a half, almost 2 years off. I think after the band had been around for 20 years, so I guess it was high time everyone just sort of fucked off and did their own thing. But so it's exciting to be getting back together with the guys and playing again. So I'm not pushing too much for it. Currently I'm just happy to be in the same room with those guys playing music. So, but that we're getting out on the road and touring again is a super positive thing. And I would love to write more material at some point, but like I say, I'm not getting ahead of myself, I guess, so currently it's just, do this tour. And then I think we have a show or two scheduled next year, some festivals. So we just, I guess we're easing ourselves back into it, but I'm really hopeful for this next tour, this August tour with Sword. I really hope that it's, well attended and people enjoy it, so that we can continue to do it. I mean, it's fun to write songs. I enjoy it.
Bryan, well, thank you so much for doing this. I really do appreciate you taking the time. And yeah, well,
hey, it was lovely to talk to you.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
Hey, you too. See you.
Bye.